What's up, everyone? This is Kazak here, and today we finally have some pretty good news regarding the Tales series. Funny enough, I actually made a video a couple of weeks ago regarding the Tales series, and in that video, I went over how we haven't heard any sort of information regarding the series, which left me pretty concerned about the current state of the franchise. However, on the Nintendo Direct, it was revealed that Tales of Graces F will be getting a remaster early next year, which baffled me personally because I was expecting Zillia to show up because of the rumors, but that clearly wasn't the case. Now, to be honest, Graces is not exactly a Tales entry that I'm a fan of. I just didn't really care much for the characters and the overall narrative, but I know some people that do enjoy this game a lot, so it's great for the people that wanted to play this game on modern hardware. This remaster will include some new quality of life improvements, enhanced HD graphics, almost all of the DLC content, and the additional after story that takes place after the events of the main game. Unfortunately, some of the licensed DLC like the Code Geass outfits will not be added into this remaster, which is more than likely due to some licensing issues, I suppose. But outside of that, this remaster does look like that this is the definitive way to fully experience Tales of Graces, and despite my personal feelings about the game, I will say that if you're a new fan or even a veteran, then by all means, go ahead and pick this game up once it drops. Some of you guys may enjoy this entry way more than I do. Now, believe it or not, this isn't the only piece of Tales news we got. What I'm going to be talking about here is something very major for the Tales of series. Recently, the producer Yusuke Tomizawa went on to confirm that there will be more activities and announcements to remind the world of the best the series offers, which takes us to the 30th anniversary website for the Tales franchise, where we get a very massive announcement. When we proceed through the website, we see something called the Remaster Project. On here, it states that they will be remastering past titles from the series for modern consoles worldwide, and this big project will begin from 2025 all the way to 2026. Now, if it wasn't obvious enough, this is absolutely incredible news, because one of the things I discussed about in my Tales of video was the inability to play some of the older games. I mean, we're talking about entries that are stuck on one system, some that are really hard to find, and some of them never even came out in the West, period. However, all of that is completely changing because of this big project that the team is working on, and the possibilities of certain Tales games being remastered is at an all-time high. Another detail I want to point out is that the Tales 30th anniversary is on December 15th, and there still is the Tokyo Game Show, which could be the point where we might see further announcements for other remasters, remakes, or potentially even a new mainline game. Now that we have all this information out, I want to talk about some Tales games that I personally want to see remastered and brought on modern consoles. So for my first pick, I'm going with Tales of Fantasia, the game that basically started this incredible series, and is actually one of my personal favorite Tales games. While there are many different versions of Fantasia, a lot of them only came out in Japan, and the only way we got to officially experience these games was the Game Boy Advance port, which, to be blunt here, it was absolute dog crap. It was one of those cases where the game itself was great, but the port was just very trashy and stinky. Definitely not the version that people should be introduced to at all. Now, if you want to play the best versions, you would have to play either the Japanese PSP ports or the PS1 port with an English translation patch, which is absolutely ridiculous that the origin point of this series isn't even widely available for the Western audience to experience and enjoy in all of its true glory. Honestly, if there's any Tales game that deserves a full-on remake, it has to be Tales of Fantasia, because again, this is where it all began, so why not go all out and give it the respect that it truly deserves? That's just how I feel about it personally. Now obviously I'm going to include the Zillia duology on here, because these are still somewhat modern Tales entries that basically influence later games. Not to mention, the Zillia games are very solid, with fun gameplay, great story, and a very lovable cast of characters. I mean, the idea of playing the duology again on my Nintendo Switch with HD visuals, quality of life improvements, and all the DLC content included just makes my mouth water just thinking about it. As I mentioned before, we have seen rumors of this floating around for a few weeks, and while we don't have full confirmation on it now, the fact that the team has announced this remaster project basically raises the chance of this happening very high. It also helps that since this game was delisted alongside Graces from the PSN store on the PS3, this is more than likely definitely going to be coming at some point. For the third pick, I have Tales of Destiny. Similar with Fantasia, this was a pretty important entry in the series as it was one of the most popular Tales games in Japan, which led to the team creating a full-on remake of it on the PlayStation 2 in Japan only. The only ways you can play it now is if you own the original English PS1 version. Good luck trying to find that one though, because it's ridiculously expensive. Or if you have the PS2 remake with an English translation patch. While it would be great to see a remake, I wouldn't mind just seeing the original PS2 version get localized and get touched up with some HD textures, additional quality life improvements, and simply just having it ready to play on modern systems. I would be beyond excited because this specific version of Destiny is so dang good that I consider it to be one of my favorite games in the series. So if that ever happens, I'll be a happy camper. Heck, let's also bring over Tales of Destiny 2 as well as a duology collection. Next up, I have Tales of the Abyss. Even though this one is not as hard to get as other entries since it did have worldwide releases, I still find it pretty baffling that this game was only on the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo 3DS. It just boggles my mind how they never bothered to give it a PS3 or even a PS4 port in the past, but now there's a possibility that it can be accessible to even more players out there. Abyss is also just a very solid game with a good story, likable characters, fun gameplay, and just filled to the brim with content that makes you want to keep coming back for more. Just like with Graces, all they would pretty much have to do is make some new HD textures, improve on the visuals, and just refine the game a bit. The game is just too good to be stuck on only 2 consoles. Now, finally, but definitely not least, we have Tales of Rebirth. Unlike most of the other games in this list, this is a whole mainline Tales game that has never seen a single English release in any shape or form. Meaning that this is a game that's going to be entirely brand new to Western fans to play and experience if it does get remastered. I think this would be a great opportunity to have it be widely available worldwide on modern systems, because, you know, there's a lot of great games that are so niche and obscure that never get the chance to see the light of day, which is why this one deserves to happen. So those are just a few examples of, Tales games I would love to see come back and be remastered at some point in the future. But overall, guys, I'm very happy to see all this new information popping up for the series, since this also allows for more players to experience more of this great franchise and to really show what people are really missing out on. How do you guys feel about this announcement? What Tales games do you want to see be remade or remastered? Feel free to let me know in the comments. I'll be covering more Tales related news in the future, so be sure to stay in tune. Until then, this was Kazak, and I'll see you guys on the next video.